Welcome back to the Association on American Indian Affairs Scholarship site. I'm Lisa Weislich, Turtle Clan, Grand River Bands of Ottawa Indians. I'm the director of the scholarship program. There are some tips that we put together for first generation college students, parents that are helping their students, and some reminders for upperclassmen who may have forgotten some of these things. There's a lot of information here, so we split it out into several shorter videos. They are still kind of long, but listen to them at your leisure if you choose to. I made a list, and I am just going to read through them and talk about them as needed. So, as you know, going to school is a commitment, but it's a commitment to make your life better and make the lives of the people that you care about better. It will take hard work and sacrifice, but don't get discouraged because you can do it. It's best if you can do it all in one shot, but if you have to quit school for some reason, do go back, because in the long run it will be the best thing. Once you are away from home, sometimes it can be hard to go back on several different levels. You have a different perspective, and you've learned different things, and you look at things differently, and people will look at you a little differently as well. Some might think it's good, some might think it's not so good, but just keep in mind in the end what's best for you, what's best for your family, and ultimately what's best for the tribe. There is a lot of funding available to go to school, but it takes an effort to get. You need to kind of think of it like a job. Don't just think of Pell Grants and tribal grants, or look at Native scholarships, but look at scholarships in your major and think of other sources where you might be able to be eligible for funding, different categories you might be eligible in. There's an Other Scholarships and Internships button at the bottom of our main scholarship page. It has some different things listed, different categories that you might be eligible in as well. First of all, fill out the FAFSA. That's the free application for federal student aid. There's a link on our main scholarship page about halfway down. Fill it out even if you don't think you're eligible. This will tell you what you qualify for, whether it's a Pell Grant or student loans or federal work study. And just because you're eligible for something doesn't mean that you have to take it. Independent students. This is where the go to school in one shot if you can plays in. If you go to school and you have to quit school and you have worked and you go back to school, just keep in mind that they use your previous year's taxes for your FAFSA. So if you've had any kind of income, that's probably going to lower the amount of federal aid that you're eligible for. Students who have parents that are divorced, make sure that you fill out your FAFSA for the parent that you live with. There is also a 5-minute video on the FAFSA. There's a link on our main scholarship page. It's done by finaid.com, so they've done a real good job on that video. If they're available, take college courses while you're in high school. Most often you can get dual credit and get college credit and high school credit for those classes, and sometimes you don't have to pay tuition for those classes, so you're actually ahead in college and ahead financially as well. After applying for the FAFSA, your next step should be to look at your tribe and see if they have any scholarships, grants, or waivers. Then look at your state and see if there are any tuition waivers or scholarships or grants that you can apply for through the state, and then through the BIE or BIA. Don't be surprised if your financial aid office does not help you navigate the scholarship or financial aid process. For instance, your state might have a tuition waiver and they don't tell you about it unless you ask. So if you have a list of questions written down before you go into the financial aid office, that will be helpful. There's a lot of information out there. It can be very overwhelming. You can't read every website. There are a couple of big websites that have a lot of good information. Finaid.com and fastweb.com both have a lot of good information posted on them. I know FastWeb is one of the organizations that helped with the National Scholarship Providers Association. There are also a lot of search engines out there. You might want to take a look at them prior to signing up for them, see what categories they have as far as putting your filters in. You can select, whether you're looking at undergrad scholarships in a certain region or in a certain curriculum, all kinds of different categories. So take a look at the categories before you sign up. You're going to find that the bigger search engines have a lot of crossover, and you'll find the same scholarships on multiple search engines. Some of the smaller ones don't have as much crossover, and you may find some different categories and different scholarships on the smaller ones as well. Looks like from the information that we get, or inquiries that we get, it looks like Finaid.com, Brokescholar.com, FastWeb.com, and Scholarships.com are the most popular search engines. Like I said, looking for scholarships is kind of like looking for a job. It takes a lot of work, and you will have to apply for several scholarships for each, several applications for each one that you get. So whether it's 10 applications and you get one, or if it's 50 applications and you get one, don't stop looking. There is money out there. You just kind of gotta apply for it. Most organizations that provide scholarships also provide a list of other scholarships or a list of other scholarship providers on their website. And like I said, ours is under the Other Scholarships and Internships button on the main scholarship page. There's a mix of Native and non-Native on there. So, the Center for Native American Youth, the National Indian Education Association, the American Indian College Fund, and the American Indian Graduate Center all have lists on their websites specifically for Native students. AAIA is a founding member of the Native Ways Federation. This is a federation of 7 of the nation's top national Native nonprofits. Some of our Native Ways partners provide scholarships as well. As I mentioned, the American Indian Grad Center, the American Indian College Fund, and then the American Indian Science and Engineering Society, or ASIS. On our other scholarships button on the main scholarship page, those are all marked with an asterisk, our partners. Don't be afraid to take loans. Nobody wants to take them if they don't have to, but for some people, taking loans is the only way that they can go to school. And for other people, it's only filling in the gaps. If you can get scholarships and grants, you can use smaller loans to fill in those gaps, so the lump sum at the end won't be so bad. There are several different kinds of loans. There are subsidized loans, unsubsidized loans, parent loans. There are non-federal loans. You can go through your bank and get loans, those types of things. There are different ways to pay them back as well, and you can always consolidate your loans so they're all under one. In many cases, you don't have to start paying back your student loans until after you've graduated. Some you may actually be able to defer for 6 months to a year. You may also be able to get some loans written off in certain circumstances. You may be able to write the taxes off or the interest off on your taxes. Make sure you check the IRS website when you're doing your taxes to see if there are any school credits that you qualify for. I know there's one posted on the main scholarship page. It's a 2012 tax credit, and it expires this year, and they're not renewing it. So I think this is the last year if you haven't done your taxes for 2012 yet. You might want to see that. As far as getting some loans written off, programs like Indian Health Service they will provide loans, and then you work for them for, like 3 years afterwards, or a certain amount of time. Things like Teach for America. There are programs out there as well in regard to paying back loans. Also, federal work. AmeriCorps Vista. If you're a Vista, at the end of your Vista, they actually provide you with a stipend to either pay back your loans or to further your education. Loans are definitely something that you have to budget into, to include in your budget and plan financially for. So if you are taking loans, like I said, don't be afraid to take them, because you are kind of looking over the long term, and you're thinking about the type of job that you'll have, what the income range is for those types of jobs. So, and you also have to consider your other expenses, but don't be too afraid to take them if that's the only way that that you're going to be able to get through school. Displacement. You don't hear a lot about it, but there is displacement. And what that is like if you get a scholarship, say, especially from private schools, instead of reducing the amount of your loan, they will reduce the amount of, like, if the school has provided you a scholarship, they'll reduce the amount of funding that they are providing. So they might reduce the amount of the federal aid that you get, so in lieu of the scholarship. So that's something that's becoming more talked about, but just be aware that it exists, and that in some instances the amount that that you get from one scholarship might be reduced if you get another scholarship. So you'd have to check with the individual school on the policy. More often than not, if you attend a state school or receive other scholarships, it does not reduce. Parents, you want to help your kids, especially if they're freshmen, or especially if they're a first-generation college student. But the best thing that you can do to help them is to let them do things on their own. Let them look for the scholarships, let them apply for themselves, let them call the scholarship offices and ask the questions, and let them be responsible for getting the scholarships completed online or in the mail. These are skills that they're going to have to learn while they're at school anyway, and they're going to be responsible for doing all these things. So it's best to make them do that. What you do want to do is you want to help them and make sure that the FAFSA gets done. Sit down together and make sure that you know how much it's going to cost to go to school for 4 years. There are cost calculators on most school websites, I think on all school websites. And the amount will probably kind of be overwhelming to you, and you might not think that it's affordable, but then you have to make some decisions on whether you're going to go to school full-time or part-time. Remember that there's scholarships and grants out there, but a lot of those are just for full-time students. A lot of the scholarships and grants are actually for students who are in college and not for students who are going for certificate programs. So you got to be aware of those types of things. You may end up paying more out of your pocket if you go part-time or go for a certificate program. Help your students prioritize and set the priorities of what needs to be done first. Help them to put things in place that will help them be successful to get these things done. Help them determine how many scholarships to apply for each week, or make a calendar with them, and that way they can mark things off as they get them done. Make sure they have all the basic information available to them. If they need copies of similar things that all scholarships will need. If they need essays, if they need tribal enrollments, if they need CIBs, if they need financial aid award letters, if they need financial needs analysis, social security cards, driver's license, pictures, letters of recommendation, help them to get organized, to make sure that they have all those things. because several of the places they're applying are going to need, at least some of those things. If they have alarms on their phones, have them set the alarm to make sure that they get things done on time. Like I said, time management skills and organizational skills are something that they're going to need. So, if you have any questions of things that I didn't answer in this video, they may be coming up in the next video. If not, feel free to email me. I'm at lw.aaya@indian-affairs.org. If I can answer your question, I will. If I can't, maybe I can direct you to somebody that can.